So, picture a person in a tropical country. They might be wearing tank tops, shorts, slippers, and like clothes that made up from breathable materials. But when you're looking into the current Sri Lankan population, it's quite different. And we wondered why.
What do you think about our day-to-day lifestyle and clothing lifestyle?
I think like Sri Lanka is very tropical and it's like a warm country. It sits in the equator. So it's kind of like, it's interesting because I think a lot of our clothing is try to emulate a lot of the clothing that doesn't necessarily fit our weather a lot. But also there are parts of the country where, especially in the south and like at the beach areas where there's no other choice but to be very tropically dressed because of the heat and because of the environment and the culture there.
Even though we are in like a very temperate, like a climate country, why do we wear like this? Like we are always uncomfortable. Story of Vijay Kueni came into our mind. So in that story, Kueni was spinning cotton when Vijay came to the country.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of ironic and it's very important to this story as well because this part of the civilization to have cotton and then have clothing at that time. And this was like 2,500 years ago. And I found this book called Purana Stringi Anduma, written by Martin Kushner. And
Right.
the Sri Lankan outfit mostly have contained specifically say like a light cotton full fabric. So it's essentially just a cloth wrapped in the torso. This was the basic material, and interestingly, this was a unisex material. So there was a story. It says in a home there was like a husband and wife. If the husband is out, the wife has to stay home. If the wife went out, the husband has to stay home because they had just one fabric, and it's kind of like a unisex outfit. And
that is a really nice.
Yeah,
That is such a beautiful sentiment, kind of. Despite it being must be very inconvenient, but like yeah.
Yeah, if you go to like old Sri Lankan images, even in 1880s, 90s, those photographs, you can see this just like a fabric drape around the torso. We have had like entire villages full of artists, potters, Kumbalgama, these kind of artists, but they have not been sewist back then. They have been weavers, but not sewist. So form-fitting clothing, we didn't cut the fabric a lot.
Yeah, that idea is really interesting. The communal aspect of having like clothing that's just supposed to be worn by everyone, but like it depends on who needs it the most at the moment. That's a very it's very hegemonic, and I really like that idea. I didn't know about that at all, but yeah.
But also, it reminds me of saris and saris that we are wearing because I can wear my mom's one, so like any sari. So after the colonization from like Portuguese and these European countries, only we got exposed to this suits and ties and shirts and stuff. And
yeah, I found that really interesting as well. Like, I mean, it's when we talk about clothing, I think generally even like the perception of clothing growing up, despite being from a country that didn't invent suits or ties, or even realistically need suits or ties in the sense that like logically in terms of just pure weather phenomena, I think like more people are probably unhealthier because they wear like really form-fitting sort of like constricted layers upon layers of clothes, like despite them initially being from those countries that are colder, that probably required more layers and like more tailoring, more the builds they have specifically because of Western people are a lot taller than Asian people, and then like that doesn't translate particularly well. It's a lot more fabric. You need layers when it's a colder country, and it's quite it's kind of like a cage to just give it to a country and be like, this is the proper way to wear clothes.
The amount of people that you can see, like I'm fine with like people wearing suits and like shirts, obviously I'm fine with it, but uh sometimes like you have a car, you have a seat, you have an A seat office room. So when that's the case, it's completely fine. But sometimes you can see people going in like trains and buses where they use like public transportation, like anyone else. But I know it's hot to wear the shirt like that, and I feel like it's very inconvenient to the person and also to the office and the whole country also, because it slows down the person a lot.
It constricts, yeah. I mean, I take the bus to work like every day, basically, and I always see people like, especially like people who are quite young, like in their 20s, similar to our ages, like where people are just getting into their jobs and they've been told their entire life that like certain corporate jobs, the way you dress matters. And like I don't understand why it matters in a way, like because like I think we are quite free to dress however we want with the work that we do, with being creative here. But like that, like the part of culture that isn't that, the part of culture that is more technically oriented, the part of culture that is more corporate oriented, I think a lot of the values they hold, especially in clothing, like I always see people sweating a lot in buses, just to make sure, like they'll take their tie off, they'll take their blazers off, and like a lot of the girls are wearing like pencil skirts that are like incredibly inconvenient in a bus. Like just even if the bus was empty, it's inconvenient. But in Sri Lanka, the buses are ridiculously packed. So yeah, it's almost impossible to get from your seat to the door, from the door to your seat, or like anything like that. And yeah, I've always wondered that as well. Like even growing up, I was like, why are we doing this? Because like clearly these clothing, like the reason they wear it is because there's some culturally upheld value that like contributes to their career being better if they dress a certain way. But I don't personally see the reason why a person can't wear something simple and still get the same amount of work done or the same kind of work done. it's uh it's really interesting, and it's really like, it's I think one of those cultural caveats that we have come to expect but not do anything about.
So I read in this book where like D.S. Senanayake went and celebrated the Independence Day and how he hoisted the flag. But when he's hoisting the flag, he was dressed in a suit and a top hat. And this and this was like photographed, and I have the picture also here. And I feel like
that is so ironic. That feels less like freedom and more like just a handing of power.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, nominally, here you go, these are the reigns, but you are still the same country. That's
when we're going to the interview first for a new job, they ask us to like parents and the people around us say to be like be proper and dress in office wear, put a tie if you're a man, and if you're like a woman, to dress in like white, like a blouse, maybe a blazer. It's like etches into our brain that putting a tie or like dressing in blazers is the more proper and like more clean way.
Yeah.
And maybe this is where the phrase Mahatya comes from.
You become prim and proper and British or whatever like the thing is. The specific adage you can use, I think, changes. But yeah, I understand what you mean. I don't know if there's a word for it other than Mahatya. More important.
A gentleman.
Yeah, a gentleman. Yeah. Which is also such a misnomered word. That doesn't really reflect what the word means. But yeah, it's that's interesting. there are 2 or 3 different types of uniforms, I think, in a culture. It's like the military one, it's
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
corporate one, and then there's the school one. Like that's how you identify a culture. You look at like school uniforms, you look at the police uniforms or the military, the army uniforms, and the other easiest group of people to identify are the salarymen, like the salarymen
Yeah.
uniforms. Like it's everywhere. It's true.
Yeah, because like even in like corporate businesses, there are
Right.
laws like you can't wear the skirt below the knee or like above the knee,
Oh, really?
2 inches.
Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it's there, and it's
Oh,
in
wow.
the
Okay.
school system also. And you can't wear slippers, you can't wear 3/4.
School uniforms, they certainly have those
Yes.
like lengths in
Yeah,
place
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
This Sri Lankan
Okay.
government school system has like a specific type of fabric also that they use for uniforms. Literally called
Really?
like a uniform fabric. And
That is so Hunger Games.
yeah,
What?
so it's essentially a lot of uniforms and like schools use white fabric. I do appreciate
Mm-hmm.
that a lot because of the heat. White is the best.
Right.
And
Yeah, black uniform would be genuinely
no,
horrible to
that
wear in
we
the.
use like that.
Yeah.
And ironically, it's made up of synthetic, like polyester material and cotton. So the
Okay.
ratio is kind of like 45 polyester or like 60% polyester.
One of the things I remember about that fabric is that my parents never used the one you got from school. They would just give it to someone else, like some other kid, and they would just have it made separately.
Mm-mm-mm.
Which is like, I mean, I should ask them why they did that because I mean, I personally didn't know why or didn't even care why. But yeah, was that the same with you? I just remembered
Yeah,
that when you
yeah.
said that.
I still have the fabrics because I just wanted to know how your experience with the uniforms because in like Colombo and you in Badulla, so I mean,
Yes, yes. I think that's it. Yeah. So I think the fact that you think there was a difference is also indicative of the fact that there should be a difference, but I don't think there is much of a difference.
okay.
As far as I remember, I think a lot of the girls, so I went to a mixed school and there were girls there anyway. So a lot of the girls, they would like the only difference was that they were wearing a frock, and everything else pretty much was like girls would wear like it was like kind of interesting. I remember like for about 2 or 3 months, this is a ridiculous thing, and I assume like there are people who can contribute topics to this later down the line as well. There's like 2 or 3 months once that pants switching happened, like once we got into longer pants. Like I don't think that I don't know if this is the same in schools in the Colombo area, but like in my school, there was this like size that the pant had to be, the fold of it had to be a certain size, like it had to be a certain number of inches, the circumference. And anyone like at the time, like if you were to have like skinny jean type pants, which personally I thought like it was not at all a thing that contributed to the discipline of the school because it actually made it significantly more unproductive. Like there would be teachers who would like chase kids around and like split their trousers if they were like too skinny jeany, like if they were like the inch diameter was too small. And I've always like, I mean, it's happened to me once, I think, but like after that, I just didn't want the hassle, so never bothered making it smaller. But the reason is like, I think a lot of the reason why that has happened is because of this like weird incentive that schools have to maintain a certain like ridiculous level of discipline that doesn't make any real sense in a learning environment. It kills individuality to a certain extent. Like you can, especially with the uniform concept, I think that's also a little bit colonial, where like if a person has a beard, which are just very normal things in puberty, like people grow beards at different ages, like what is there to do about that? And like it's not the fact that it has to be maintained, it's just the fact that you can't have a beard. Like that is a ridiculous thing from my perspective. Also hair, I mean, that is like it's to an extent where the uniform was meant, the school was like an institution for maintaining uniforms rather than being a place for. I always found it to be incredibly like unnecessarily cruel and also very unproductive. Like I think a lot of people spend more time dealing with their uniform and their like so-called discipline essentially than learning at school, and it's really indicative of like a system that shouldn't be in place.
Girls' schools are more stricter when it comes to the uniform. So like we had, it's kind of like we had a place where to like when we're braiding our hair, it needs to start from here and not here, like not an inch above, and we can't have hairpins, and if the dress is too short, they're gonna like remove the stitches, and we have to somehow sew it in the next day. And yeah, it was like
That's almost like prison punishment, right? Like it's
yeah,
it's basically like
that.
putting someone in prison, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially because there is no reason for it. Like there is no reason other than some belief they have that this is going to contribute to discipline, which it doesn't.
small things like in the guideline, like uniform guideline, there's this you can wear black watches, but like not other colors. You have to have one piercing, but you can't have two piercings.
At a certain point, I think even the disciplining people, like the teachers, they realize it's ridiculous, and they're like, it's just to uphold the uniform, and it is an institution just purely made to keep discipline rather than and discipline to a standard that is like almost a prison sentence. It's to a standard where it like removes any individuality and tells kids
Exactly.
to. And barring a few places in Asia, a lot of people like just across the world feel that Sri Lankan schools are more prisons than schools. Like they ask if it is if it's some sort of like juvenile detention sort of like structure in place, like because one of the arguments, I don't know how relevant this is to the clothing, but I think it is primary locus of their argument for a uniform is that like it makes everyone the same, like economically, socially. And the sad thing is I really don't think that happens. Like it is so misguided to a point where to just assume that students who look the same are the same socially. That is not a thing. Like that is just because people wear the same outfit, are held to the same standard, doesn't mean they're morally or like held to the same standard. It actually is more crippling because people don't learn empathy, and I that is the thing. Like if a person is so visibly impoverished, let's say, and they are unable to wear like clothing that is like like sort of like the standard for kids that age, it is more a chance that if it's visibly like if it's visibly there, sure there will be bad experiences with kids who like make fun of them for it, and that's just a moral failing in terms of parenting, in terms of like schooling, even like that's an adult, that's a problem that an adult has to fix. But more often than not, like kids are kind when you see people being in trouble, like when you see people being impoverished or living in poverty. It is, I think, so fundamentally more likely that the kids would have donated their own clothing to their friends if they realized they were having it bad, rather than everyone wearing the same outfit. In an effort to make it similar, they've segregated schools significantly more. Like they've basically like washed empathy outside, like out of the system entirely. Like so you don't empathize with the people because everyone's held to this like bland standard of like you're supposed to wear this so no one knows anyone's hardship. And that is such a colonial mindset to have, because like the categorizing of people into larger groups irrespective of their individual struggles is the blueprint of colonization. Then there's a noble class. That is the definition of colonization. I think we can definitely reference this. There's a film that I watched quite a long time ago. I think it's about this kid who comes to Colombo for schooling, and they have like a play to put up. And there's a lot of scenes in that film where poverty is depicted through the fact that the like the kid who comes there, like the underdog character, cannot afford anything in Colombo. Like essentially, they can't afford the costumes for the play. They can't afford anything, so they scrounge up the thing. And that film is a sort of like it is a telling of like kids will be kind if you teach them to be kind. That the entire film is just that, like they are horrible to this person initially because they don't understand their struggle. Afterwards they are quite a bit nicer, like even their parents help out with their outfit and their uniform, and like it's such a human driven experience.
I have a friend who moved from a school who had this high and all collars and like a this complicated frock into a school that has more simpler version of it, like no tie, open neck, and like no sleeves, no pleats, like a very basic, simple frock. And she especially mentioned that it was very practical, even though it made them look different than others. It was very practical, and it was. She said it's like more suitable for the climate, and she definitely felt that. The shoes that we are using is very impractical, and your like shoes get so sweaty, and it basically it's like an oven, and the shoes are very expensive.
Buying clothes is always a bit difficult because of the sizing problems, but traditional clothing, not as much. So I hopped on a call with my friend to see if it is actually true, what, and to know why.
As you were a student and also now like making clothes for other people, do you see like a difference in sizing, especially for uh, hardships because of that?
There are risks because for some people that shows like it's the perfect measurement, but for some it is not. Like the waist size can be different, the chest size can be different, so I had to make adjustments.
Uh, the main reason that I got you for this is because you studied fashion design, so you know about the sizing and the differences, and also because you wear a lot of traditional outfits.
Current because the thing is with shalwars and all, their sizes are like labeled according to your chest size. So when you buy a shalwar size, uh, a set, I'll say the sizes are in 36, 38, 40, or something like that. And that I realized that is basically our chest sizes and all. They don't have normally those UK sizes or anything. So in these desi outfits, the traditional shalwars and all, they have those kind of labels, sizing labels. Also, uh, they have these patterns and all as well, which can be adjusted with like extra seam allowances and all. So I'll say that they are more comfortable and you can adjust as well. Plus the trousers, like the trousers we have for those shalwar tops and all, they have strings or else they have those elastic bands and all. Even they are like really adjustable and anyone can wear. Like the sizing is never an issue when it comes to those traditional outfits. So that's why I'll say that they are more comfortable than the normal UK size outfits or anything. You don't have to worry about will it fit me or not at all. Like because we know it's gonna fit anyway because they are a bit loose as well. So you just have to check about the chest size and then the top is gonna fit you and definitely the pants will fit you as well.
The fact that all the sizing is done for people who are like 3 or 4 times our average size as human beings is so unacceptable to a certain extent. To grow up with that sort of like otheringness, like where if you buy a shoe you go for UK sizes or US sizes. Even when you buy a school shoe it's the same thing. Like it's like you start it with a number that is nothing to do with your culture or your school or your country.
It's very hard for me to just go and buy a clothes because it doesn't fit. Like I have to go to a fitting room and sometimes I have to come home and adjust it because you have like European, American, Australian, and also most importantly we have East Asian sizes for them,
Yeah,
but
Japan, Korea,
there's
yeah,
nothing for
China,
like South Asian and
Southeast
African
Asia,
countries.
yeah.
So
Mm,
I feel like that directly influenced the way we dress also,
yeah.
because
I bet, I mean, the fact that you mentioned our export economy means that within the country, there is no priority for its own citizens. Like, the priority is for export. The priority is to make something here and sell it
yes,
elsewhere. And
exactly.
that is the primary audience that people are selling it to.
We can like add another, not like a not like a specific sizing chart, but if we can have like similar to the UK and US sizing, they have like UK 4 and it's similar to UK 6, US 6 or something
Right.
like. If we
Yeah.
can add something that like comparatively this is the
Standardized.
size,
Yeah.
like a standardized something like that. I think it would
Mm.
be good, and like it would help to introduce like our own identity into our clothing as well.
True. I think a lot of people collectively don't like having an identity crisis as a country. Like, I don't think people are comfortable with the way that we live, and I think clothing is a massive aspect of that. Despite it is very dystopian that despite a country having so much production capability in terms of outfits and clothing and garment and fabric and so much culture in all of those things, only like 1% of that population is capable of affording anything that's reasonable to them, and otherwise like they have to adjust it by themselves as an individual exercise that is just like already ridiculous. And the fact that that is not a capability that is available to people generally is somewhat like it's very disheartening.
As like a clothing question, I would like to ask like, would it be so weird if your office said to not have shoes, not have the synthetic shirts and like pants as like the office wear, and what if they would send you an email saying like they prefer you having sandals and three quarters and linens from now on?
I think especially like if the entire industry shifted to that and if there was a standard established for clothing, I think a lot of people in Sri Lanka would feel like they're Sri Lankan and not like they're cosplaying being proper and prim and colonial.